You guys feed the horses and then head out to the west. You have a good bearing because, again, you can already kind of see the Shademire from here, so it's nice. You don't have to worry about, like, which direction exactly. Heading due west gets the job done pretty well.
Is there enough for 3 people up front?
With one of them being Karash, not really.
Okay.
3 other people in the group, probably. It's a tight fit. With Karash, not really, no.
I'm going to stand up and I'm just going to say, so who thinks this is a good idea?
Going out to fetch her father?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think we need to, cover all of our bases and make sure that whatever happened in her vision doesn't come to pass. If we can prevent it, I think we should try.
That's what I was thinking. Crash, what do you think?
If her father is in danger, it is a good idea.
What if it turns out he's totally fine? Is it still a good idea?
Why would it not be?
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking. I didn't know if you were just going to pull results-based thinking on me or if you were on board, Crash.
What?
Yes. Great.
I just shake my head a little bit, and I'm definitely keeping my eyes open to see if maybe we'll see him on the way. And then also looking ahead to the Shademire. I'm curious about this place.
Everybody can make a perception check. By the time you even start getting to the point where you can take a better look at the Shademire, it's already almost dark.
18.
I critted.
You got a natural.
I can actually hear her father in the forest.
I don't want to talk about it.
Aw.
It's okay, Karash. You tried your best. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe that's why you rolled badly.
Yeah, that's a 4.
Yeah.
I'm still baffled by Isaac/Daniel's comment, and I'm trying to figure out what results-based thinking could possibly be.
So, Karash, you see trees. Lena, looking up ahead, you can see that this is different from the Sowenwood. The Sowenwood has that exterior that you know well that's thick, but the interior lets in plenty of light and has a generally like softer feel to it. The canopy on these trees up ahead in the Shademire is much thicker, and the name starts to make sense to you as you realize, oh, it's because very little light gets through. Huh. Of course. Isaac, even though you're still a ways off yet, you can already kind of feel the air changing. It's getting more humid as you start to get closer, and it's tough to tell from inside the cart, but you can just kind of tell from the cart's movement that it's slowing down a little bit because the ground's getting a bit softer as well. But you do not see any other carts heading in your direction or in the same direction as you.
This is an awful forest. I'm impressed with Grell's family. I wouldn't want to live here or work here. The air is heavy and gross.
Yes, this isn't anything like where I'm from either. The forest of the Sowenwood is very different from this. Have to tread lightly, make sure the horses don't injure themselves.
This reminds me of a forest I would read about when I was growing up, where witches and other unsightly creatures would lie in wait to pick children off that would walk through the forest.
And I'm like,
gonna pull my
baffled,
sword.
And I'm like, that's awful. Is that a real thing?
I mean, probably fiction, but
Well,
I don't know. Looking around here, and I just kind of trail off.
and then I kind of say, well, we did run into hags, so I suppose it's not.
And don't forget the
Impossible.
succubus. That was also a thing.
The world is strange.
It's amazing what unpleasantries we found in a short amount of time.
Indeed.
Makes you
Why-
wonder what other horrors are in store for us.
Why do mainlanders even live near these places?
Come on, you have to have some kind of myths or dangers or some scary tales from the isles that you're from, Karash.
Yes, many, but we don't do stupid things like go into the places where they are.
Well, I mean, he needs lumber. Where's he going to get it?
Aren't the trees here? Why would he have to go all the way to those trees over there?
Maybe they're better trees. I don't know, Karash. When we find him, we can ask him.
Yes. I mean, some people can't choose their lifestyle or what kind of situation they were born into. Some people just have to live with what they have.
No, you don't. You can leave. You can walk away. Grail did it. She came back, but she left.
I mean, you have a point, Karash. The ranch did burn down. Seemed like a good point as any to start over, but you know what? Maybe they have a passion for dark, scary forests that let no light in. I don't know. To each their own, right?
What?
Different things appeal to different people.
Yes.
So there you go. I mean, we all can't grow up on the sunny isles of wherever he's from.
It's the attention to detail that makes Isaac the best friend.
Yes, he really is. So sincere.
And Isaac, you actually have heard of the Shademire as well, given its relative proximity to Timberbrook. Don't know much about it other than, again, sort of like the same tales that you've been speaking of like, don't go there unless you have to.
In fact, Karash, I heard a story once. 3 witches live in the trees of the Shademire. Shadewoodmire or Shademire?
Shademire.
Okay. And they have a little cabal of children. And
what?
They have a competition. Just you'll get it from the context. And any of the children who do not please the witches, they are cooked and eaten. And the surviving children actually are forced to eat the remains. It's a truly terrible story.
I'm gonna
Why would
I'm
children
gonna
come
be
near
looking at
these
you
people?
and trying to see if it's a true story or not, and then also looking around of I really don't want to run into any witches.
Yeah, they call it the curse of the Shademire. Truly terrible.
We have something very similar. Deep, deep, deep in the water around our isles, there are many, many caves, and they go for great lengths, and there are giant sea monsters inside of them. And we don't go inside of them because the sea monsters will eat you. So when we have small children, we teach them not to go into the dangerous caves.
Is there a ritual tied to yours, though, or you're just, it's not a good idea?
Oh, yes, there is a ritual. If we hear that one of the children went near one of the caves while diving, we hit them and tell them not to go back to the caves.
Understood. See, this is, in this tale, the witches, the people living in the nearby towns give their children for periods of time to get protection from the witches, from the more terrible creatures in the land. At least that's how the story goes.
But why would you give children to the witches that will make them eat them? That's stupid.
Well, for the children that survive, they come back stronger, heartier, and the village is protected. For the ones that are eaten, well, they made their sacrifice for the good, for the greater good.
Eating children makes you stronger?
Fortitude, maybe. Maybe not
What?
literally. But maybe. I've never eaten children, Crash. I don't know.
I don't understand. I do not understand.
Isaac
I do not
is
understand.
having, for anyone who perceives, a wonderful time weaving these tales.
Yeah, I'm gonna like I'm still kind of listening, but now I'm just kind of keeping my eyes on the road and just kind of looking straight ahead. Try not to entertain the thought too much.
Crash, these witches are no match for you. Trust me.
But then why do the townspeople not kill the witches?
Well, Karash, you are under the protection of Cord. This, it's more than the typical man can say.
This is true.
But-
I do not understand.
So as you guys approach the exterior of the Shademire, we switch back to Happy Time Ranch Group.
Yeah, much happier.
Yes. Who has successfully completed dinner.
Yeehaw!
Just for the four of you. A nice spread, and there is still some relatively fresh butter and milk that's available for this. There's what will be disappointing to Lena to learn is a very nice salad. But she's not there, so she doesn't get to have it.
That's sad.
But you watch as Grail's mother kind of goes to great lengths to, set the table nicely. And like you can tell that hospitality is important to her because she wants to make sure everybody feels welcome. And at a certain point, she's handing things to Grail to take out to the table. And eventually she invites everybody to come down and sit down because it's time to eat.
Southern comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you guys are getting hammered?
No.
No.
Definitely not.
What if her mom's a succubus?
Oh no.
You don't know.
Brett taking the easy way out.
Awkward.
Yeah, Tessian starts poisoning our own drinks with the filter of love.
He has it. He could. Well,
I
somebody
could.
has it. And as you guys are sitting down to eat, she says, "Well, Grail, you'll find your rooms pretty much as you left it, or at least, as it was after the incident. So you're welcome to stay there, and for the rest of you, there are spare rooms as well, or you can share one if you'd like. It's fine by me either way." She kind of gives, Tessie and Thea a pointed look.
Tessian's like, we could share a room. No use using up more space than we need.
Very well.
My cat just looked at the screen commentary. I don't know, like some weird moral high ground my cat has. I don't know what that's all about.
Get out of here, Feely. I don't need your judgment.
She's
I know.
super religious.
I don't know how that happened, considering this, she's my child. But anyway,
Right. Well, yeah, you can't control them forever.
I know.
She says, "So, you talked about going out to find your brother. Have you had any luck?"
I never thought about how I was going to answer this. I knew she would ask, though. No use lying to her. I nod kind of slowly, and I say, yeah, actually, I did run into him. And I do mean, almost literally run into. He's very busy, and he was right when he said that it wasn't safe to come home. I tried to get him to come with me. I thought it would be at least safe to travel with me, but he wouldn't allow that either. I'm not sure what he's doing, Ma, but I believe that he wants to help you and me and Pa, and I think he's doing it the only way he knows how. The problem is that we've seen what happens when Holden tries to help.
She kind of nods. She says, "Yeah, he does get a bit misguided at times, but I do think he's earnest about this. Like you said, I think he means well, but calling a mother's instinct, but if he can't tell me what he's doing, it can't be good."
And I shake my head and I say, it's not good. I know it's not. And it makes me sick to my stomach to think about it. It's hard to sleep some nights. I worry about him so much. And he's all we have, other than you and Pa. At the same time, I know what he's doing is dangerous, and I don't want him coming back to the ranch. It's for the best that he hasn't returned. I'm actually happy to hear it. As cold as that might sound, he's done a lot of damage to our livelihoods.
It hurts to say this, but I can't disagree. At the very least, until he sorts his stuff out, I don't want to say I don't want him here because it's not that. I do, desperately, but given the type of people he was associating with before and what they brought to our home, I wouldn't want that to follow him here anyways.
And honestly, Ma, he knows, and I think that's what he's trying to fix. The problem being he just digs himself deeper and deeper down a hole, and it's going to be a flat-out well by the time he's done. I don't know if he can climb himself out of it.
That's what worries me too. You know, we tried to convince him before he left the first time that there were other ways he could make up for what had happened. But I don't know. It never struck me like he was meant to stay here long term. He wasn't like you and your brother. He didn't really take to the farm life the same way the two of you did.
I agree. He never had it in him. He couldn't even get a sheep still to shear one. I mean, he's useless in that capacity. And I kind of like laugh a little, like kind of wryly, and then I say, do you think any of this would have happened if Cormac hadn't died?
I've often wondered that myself. I don't know. It seems like we've been struck by bad luck for a few years now, and the farm was just the latest thing, and Cormac losing his life was another one, but I think things would have been different. I don't know if they would have been better, and to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time on what-ifs, but at the very least, the thing that keeps me second-guessing it a little bit is that it feels like maybe he could have helped kept Holden in line a little more.
Holden looked up to Cormac very much. I feel like when Cormac passed, there was a change in Holden. It wasn't stark. It wasn't something that I noticed right away, but he just seemed to be drifting from us, ever since. And I agree. I think he had a bit of an anchor around Cormac, and once he left, he drifted away.
Well, you know your pa's a good man to his core, but he just never really seemed to connect with Cormac with Holden the way that Cormac did. I don't know what it was about him, but you're right. It did seem like there was a bit of a hole there, and he couldn't fill it with anything he could find here, and whatever he did fill it with was no good.
It's true. It's true. I wish Holden well. I actually have a feeling, just based on what he said when I saw him last, that we'll be crossing paths again. I believe that he can keep himself alive. That boy he's resourceful. If he's anything, he's resourceful. And all that said, what we just said about him, I think he's going to be all right, at least for the time being, as long as he doesn't keep digging himself further down, which it's anyone's guess. But I wouldn't worry too much about him, to be honest.
So when you saw him, he was in good health?
He seemed to be.
Looked like he'd been eaten?
He didn't look worse for wear, Ma, and I say that honestly. I wouldn't try and put one on over your eyes. He seemed to be doing all right. He seemed distracted, a little confused, maybe even a little scared, I will say. But maybe he needs that.
Well, the last time we saw him, you could tell there was a change in him a bit. I don't know if I would say he was a full-fledged man, but you could see he had gotten weathered, experienced a bit more, and I don't know. The things you hear about the world outside sometimes, it does seem like it could harden a person, but it was different with Holden. It felt like something much more than that.
I felt that too. And it's odd thinking of my little brother as a man. I just think of him as a little kid running through, along the ranch, chasing after those sheep with the sheepdogs. It's a weird thing to reconcile with him, but it's true. I couldn't even ignore it when I saw him last. He had that hardened look about him, but it was still that Holden, the same Holden we know and love.
That's what worries me most, I think, because you and I both know that no matter what his exterior looks like, there's still that quiet, scared boy inside somewhere. I don't know if you can ever fully push that down, but all I can do is hope for the best. We tried so hard to tell him that there were other things he could do besides make money that would help us get us back on our feet, and you know as well as I do, he didn't listen, and so maybe he's got to find the answers for himself.
That's our Holden. He's a stubborn one, like a mule. And I kind of put I kind of lean over and put my hand on her knee, and I say, "You're taking all this very well, and you're the strongest person I know, Ma. I love you."
She says, "Well, I love you too. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but There are people who are facing way worse than this. We still have a home. We still have a purpose. And even though we lost a lot in that fire, we still have each other. You all are out there somewhere, and getting to have you back home is a blessing in itself. And hopefully the time will come where Holden can at least visit again, too. I don't really ever expect him to live here again, but the fact that he could just stop by again, considering he hasn't been able to for a couple months now, that would be a welcome change in and of itself.
Yeah. Well, here's hoping that the future will hold some better luck for us, this family. And I kind of, on that note, I kind of like remember that I wanted to ask her something, and I take the like obsidian necklace that's around my neck and kind of like pull it out from under my clothing, and I ask. So I kind of like take it off over my head, and I say, there is actually something I wanted to ask you about. And on my travels, so we never really talked about this, but I've started to experience some magic that I've acquired somehow. And I know you mentioned that Grandma had some magical abilities, but this is very recent, very sudden for me, and so I never really asked. Did she talk about it? And do you have anything similar?
Out of character question, because I don't think I asked you about this before we started way back when. Did Grail tell Millicent about the vision she had about the ranch being attacked?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Didn't think so. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I actually was going to mention that too, because no, she didn't bring it up. I think there was a lot of shame there that she didn't act on it or bring it up, and so it's not been discussed.
Yeah. She says, so what kind of magic? Are you seeing things? Can you make flames with your hands? Like, what are we talking here?
It's small right now. I can make illusions. I can. I actually something. In fact, okay, Chris, this is actually outside of characters. I don't remember. Where did I get the obsidian necklace?
Oh, God.
Like, I feel like my mom gave it to me.
I think your mom gave it to you by way of your grandma.
Grandma. That's what I thought. Okay, yeah, I was like sitting here. I'm like, I know I didn't just acquire this. Okay.
Yeah, Mom gave it to you, and
okay.
we later talked about it was from your grandma. Yep, that's actually correct. I didn't just pull that answer out of my ass.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought it was.
Or did I? No, I didn't.
Cool, thanks. And I say, I'm able to heal using this stone. It's nothing fancy by any means what I can do. Nothing like what I've seen, but a lot of it's illusory, and I actually have visions as well. And when I'm asleep and dreaming, they're not just dreams. A number of times I've seen things that have come true as well.
Everybody make an insight check. That'll include Tessie and Thea if you so wish. Oh.
Yeah, Tessian's slowed down his eating of said food or whatever, and is like actually paying super close attention as best he can.
Insight is wisdom, so
18.
Oh
no, 9. Sorry.
Yeah,
I read yours. I was like, oh, that's fine.
I got the 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thea rolled an 18, so that's a 19. For the first time since you've gotten here, both Tessian and Thea notice that there is a bit of a change in what has been a jovial woman's demeanor. Her brow furrows ever so slightly, like she almost can't help herself, and as stoic as she has seemed in the face of hard times across the board, and as overjoyed as she was in seeing Grail when she first walked in, you're seeing for the first time, just for that moment, there's this flicker of like something darker. You're not sure if it's anger or concern or what exactly it is, but despite her best efforts not to give off anything, the two of you notice, and Grail, you get the sense, if only because you know your mom so well, that this has struck a chord in some sense. And she says, visions are not what I would prefer to hear. Because your grandmother had them as well. And from what I understand, Sometimes they came in handy. Sometimes it was a warning for her. And then she had a vision of herself dying. And guess what? It came true just the same as the rest of them. I would much prefer you not be going down that road, but I suppose there's not much that can be done to help it.
Nothing that I can find, at the very least. They seem to happen no matter what.
Well, your grandma always talked about how it was pretty much every other generation in this family. We don't know much about her grandmother, but she too had been touched by it to some degree. Didn't hear a whole lot of the stories, but there were supposedly some kind of visions involved in them. Breaks my heart a little to hear that.
I can't say that they're easy to process when I've had them. And the things that I've seen, I'd rather not. They weigh on me very heavy. But this is part of my lineage, part of your family, and I'm going to do what I can to make the most of it, the best of it. Did Grandma say anything about changing the visions, changing the fate of what she saw ever? Or did they all come true?
I don't know the full scope of them, but I know that when she was having them, it seemed like they always came to fruition, whether she tried to stop them or not. And when she saw the vision of her own death, she was very conflicted on whether she should try to stop it or if things were meant to be. And that was despite the fact that she had never been able to influence one before. So I'm not really sure. It's a grim thing to find out. I mean, I'm sure some people would prefer to know, but I don't know.
Yeah. And I kind of, I'm really contemplating this. I say, to be honest, Ma, the reason why I came here to check in on you, as much as I love to visit, and I want to be sure that I come as soon as I can, whenever I can. I had a vision that involved you, and I was worried, which is why I'm here.
She looks concerned by this development.
Yeah, I
You have
mean,
not delivered this news in a good way, by the way.
No.
no.
She
No,
says,
I haven't.
Oh
says-
God, it's my own death.
and she is taken aback by this, and again now for the first time you're seeing like the first crack in an otherwise very rock solid shell of a strong woman who goes, I almost don't want you to tell me what it was.
And at that point, I kind of like raised my hand to kind of like, whoa, like kind of, it's not as bad as it could be kind of a thing. And I do say that. I'm like, well, it's not nothing that was, you know, and I just kind of paused and I'm like, I think I should tell you. I don't know what it is that caused whatever I saw, but I think being on guard would be a good idea. It's not like I witnessed your death, Ma. I promise.
She seems the least bit relieved by this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is a bit of a load off, but she's still more concerned about the overall picture.
I'm
She says-
concerned too.
Well, if you feel it best, I suppose you should tell me. What was it?
Well, it's vague, but it was just of you in your bedroom, and you were crying, which like a lot. Which you're a strong woman. I don't see you cry very much, which was what alarmed me so much. You were doubled over with your head in your hands, and you were crying.
She's kind of like quietly shaking her head to herself. She says, you're right, that doesn't sound like me, but
Nope.
I wonder what set of circumstances could bring me to that point.
You can understand why my friends decided to set out and check on Pa. Which isn't to say that any of this could happen right now. I actually don't know when the span is between when I have a vision and when they come true. It could be, and I kind of pause and I say, when did Grandma have her dream of her death, and when did it happen?
Well, she didn't tell us about it right away, so I don't know for sure.
Okay.
It was like pulling teeth just to get out of her that she had seen it,
Mm-hmm.
because we could tell she was off for a few days, but couldn't really figure out why. So there were at least a few days in between, but how long she had had that vision, I don't know. It could have been days or weeks before that. It was hard to say for sure because we weren't around her all the time. But when we did see her, we could tell that she had been shaken by something, but we never really could figure out how long she'd known.
And they kind of pause and I say, that's actually helpful. The visions I've had have come to fruition within days at the very most, which is, again, why I came here right away. I wasn't sure if this was something happening right, at that moment. But I'm so glad to see that you're in good health and Pa's in good health. And as far as we know, Holden's in good health. This could be something that happens. It could be years and years down the road, something natural, something, completely expected. I'm like, honestly, like I'm trying to like reason and make it sound like it's better than it is, knowing that it's probably not the case. But yeah.
She kind of lets the silence linger for a moment, and then she kind of like hits herself on the cheek, and she said, and she looks over at Tessie at this point, and she's like, "We have been very rude. I apologize for shutting you out of the conversation. It's not normally how hospitality works around these parts."
Tessie is like, no, not at all. I'm rather invested in this myself. On top of being Grail's traveling companion, I am no stranger to magical lineages myself. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm curious. What do you know of your own legacy? If you don't mind me prying, where does your family hail from?
She says, "Well, originally, this as far back as I know, most of us have lived in Lycidian. That goes back 4, 5, 6 generations or so.
I didn't actually know that.
And every other generation, at least as my mother told me, has had some ability with magic. And why it skips a generation, no one's really been able to find out. I've had no such gifts with it, but considering the scope of what my mother and now my daughter have gone through, I don't know if I'm all that upset about it."
And Tessie's like, but you've never heard of where the magic came from when it started. It's simply always been there.
It's like one of those tales that gets passed down, the more fantastic aspects of it get played up a bit more over time, to the point where you're not really sure how much of that's legend and how much of it's true. There's said to be some kind of connection to the city itself from the earliest generations, but we don't know much about it.
And Tessie's like, you wouldn't happen to know the name, whoever it is that the last person in your generation that started it or had it?
She says, "I don't know."
I also am going to say, so you say Lacidian, was there by any chance any relatives that lived in Falstock?
She thinks about it for a second. She says, "No, I don't think anybody's lived east of the Penella Pass before now. So I think it's all been either there or further west. But as far as I know, I don't think that's the case."
I saw like well, it wasn't just me. We saw a wakened vision in the sewers of Falstock, and I thought maybe it was connected to some family or something like that, but it sounds like it was unrelated. Well, I think it was related to whatever magical abilities I may have, but not family.
She says, "So you saw something in the real world then, not just a vision?"
Right, and everyone with me saw it as well.
Tessie nods.
You can see Millicent's kind of deep in thought. She says, "Well, that is something. I don't remember my mother ever having anything like that."
Yeah, it was very strange. Nothing the likes I've seen before, of course. And I don't know how much detail Grandma ever talked about her visions, but in this waking vision and in the ones that I've had while I'm sleeping, there's a gold shimmer in them, most of them. And something about that must be connected. As far as I know, not all visions are this way. This seems to be unique to me.
She did mention something like that once, like gold specks,
Mm-hmm.
like flecks
That's it.
that were surrounding the visions. She never
That's
did
it.
find out really what they meant, but it was a characteristic she described often.
That's good to know. And I kind of, this is a lot for Grail because this isn't something that she's ever talked about with her mom. I kind of stare at the floor for a minute and kind of like look at my hands, and I'm just kind of quiet, and I say, I wish I'd gotten to know Grandma better before she passed.
Your mother kind of nods. She says, I do too, but like you said, our side of the family has always been the adventurous type. Not prone to settling down like I did, but, you know, sometimes you meet the right man and it changes your outlook a bit.
Yeah, that does happen, doesn't it?
It's not
I
where...
know Pa-
This is not what I would have seen myself doing if you'd asked me 20 years ago, but... And she kind of gestures to this, again, this nice house and, you know, decent surroundings around her. She goes, well, here we are, nonetheless.
Well, maybe it's a selfish thing, but I'm glad you and Pa got together. I wouldn't be here.
So she eventually ends up trying to change the subject a bit. She starts asking about, like, what's the best thing you've seen in your travels, and, like, what were the coolest places, and what was the dangerous stuff. And she starts peppering all three of you, not just Grail, for information about the trip and trying to lighten the subject a bit, because you can tell she's sensing that, like, things are a bit dour, and she is changing the subject a little.
We should probably talk about the Conatus and stuff like that.
Okay. We quickly switch back to the other group.
Back to the A team.
Damn.
Nonsense. We're the A team.
The A team doing work to change the future.
I know. Here we are trying to change fate, and over there they're like, you actually can't.
I was going to
Man,
say...
this southern
I
cooking
know.
sure is good.
I was going to say that I couldn't tell which group was the A team because all of you have a fucking A in your name.
Also true.
I was like, hey, Isaac, Lennon, and Karash all have an A, and I look over at Grail, Tessie, and Thea, and I'm like, well, never mind. Everyone is A
We're all the
team.
A-team?
We're all
Yes.
the A team.
No one is not A team.
I really wanted to be like, you were crying, Mosh. Like, oh, I just read a sad story. Like, what are we doing?
I was cutting an onion, and it got away from me a little bit.
God.
As you guys approach the exterior of the Shade Mire, go ahead and make a perception check.
Oh, yeah. Here it is. Suck you by.
The trees are alive.
16.
22.
11.
I am on fire today.
It's not Karash's strength. As you guys get close, but before you actually enter, like, the first ring of trees that are definitely different than the rest, you can see as you look ahead, this is more like a bog and almost a swamp. The ground getting softer as you went, or because as you get even closer to the forest, and by proxy also get it closer to the water that runs behind it, this is going to be tough going for a cart. And you can even kind of feel it as you approach. As you slow down a bit to take it in, you also can feel that it's naturally having a harder time getting the wheels to churn in this, because it's just watery and it just makes these like weird noises as you travel through it. Lena, you also see that, especially in the dark, because it's now effectively nighttime, that only because of your dark vision can you even really make out anything inside the line of trees, because it's already dark and none of the moonlight's getting through the canopies whatsoever. So it takes your ability to see to get a scope of what's inside. Isaac, you do hear what sounds like a cart that's not yours getting a little bit louder, and what also sounds like shouting. Now, you can't make out what's being said, but you do hear what appears to be some kind of shouting up ahead inside the tree line, and pretty much the direction you're facing, west.
Lena, do you hear that? There's shouting ahead.
And you do vaguely make it out, Lena.
I'm gonna, yes. Do you suppose that's Grill's father, maybe?
I heard a little bit of a cart, so I would assume yes.
Yes.
How's the wagon doing? Can we make it, or would we be faster getting out running on foot?
We might be better off trying to go on foot. It's gonna be tough if we try to go through the bog with the cart.
If he needs help, can you transform into an animal and get there quicker than us, and we'll follow closely behind?
Mm-hmm. I give you a nod. So I'm probably... so if we tried to walk through the bog, would any of my animal forms be able to go faster, or am I better off trying to fly? Like, is the bog really deep?
For speed, you're probably better off flying. But
Yeah.
It does. So as you jump off the cart and just kind of feel your feet go like...
Oh, yep. Okay.
And you can move it in. It's not like sticky. It's not quicksand. You can move, but it does feel like every step is a little bit more labored. It effectively halves your movement. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Chris,
So anything that's not on the ground will definitely be faster, and there is no faster form than your new one.
Right, well, I can't use the new dragon form for this giant dragon. No. I'm going to turn to the tiny dragon and start flying towards the sound.
Okay.
with my history in parkour, can I try to rock hop through this thing a little faster through I don't know, decks or something?
There are not a lot of stones and things popping up. Most of them are underneath what appears to be at least a thin level of water in the area.
Damn it.
So unfortunately, not really, no. You might get a few steps in that way, but eventually it's just going to all get bogged down.
Are the trees close enough to make that effective at all?
Not really, no.
Tree hopping.
They're not close enough together that you could parkour them.
Just like Indiana Jones. Okay.
They're plentiful, but the biggest thing is they spread up huge up top, and that's what covers the whole area. There's not a ton of trunks that are close together in the forest itself.
Swinging through the vines. Okay, well, we're Karash and I we're gonna do our best then. Unless you're not, Karash. Are you joining me?
No, I was going to say I'll light a torch, because if we can't see, then...
That would be a great idea.
Yes, neither of you can. And it's interesting because it just feels like the torchlight's being swallowed up by your surroundings. You can see the immediate area. Like, it has its full area of effect, but outside of that, it's almost like a wall of darkness. It's slightly off-putting. Lena, as you fly up ahead, unencumbered by the bogginess of the terrain, you fly for a couple of minutes heading further in, and eventually you see what appears to be the source of the noise. A man, matching Grail's description of her father, riding with his cart, having a tough time of it, given the difficulty going across this that we talked about. But he's hurriedly snapping the reins to get the horses to move. There is a bunch of wood piled up in the back of the wagon that's jostling about as he tries to make this more of a hurried approach. And behind him, you see something that is weird to you. There's a bull chasing him. But it doesn't appear to be a regular bull. It appears to be almost metallic. And it's thundering after Grail's father in this cart. And gaining ground pretty well, despite the fact that it too is also, in this thick stuff. It seems to be used to it like it's from around here. And that's where we'll leave off.
A bull. I thought it was a bull.
Yes, a bull.
And then you said a metal bull, and I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a lot of...
With salad tongs.
And the bull is just trampling.
Yeah.
It's like, well...
You don't know this about Grail's backstory, but a bull killed her brother.
Well, you're like, Lena, you see something you're not used to.
Yeah.
That
Clinging
would
to the
fill
underside of it, several small colanders,
Yeah.
all looking angrily at
Yes.
you.
I will fill myself with your blood.
Okay.
It's just flying like a UFO.
Well, this poor man, then he sees a dragon coming from the front.
It's okay. It's the smaller one.
That's-
Yes,
yeah,
I'm
at
not
least
super
that.
scary yet.
Dragons from the front. Metal bowls in the right.
He just
Here I
blows his
am.
brains out.
All right, so next time we'll see what that's all about. The party will probably be rolling initiative pretty quickly, or at least that half of it, while the other party finishes up their delightful meal back at Sheepstop Hollow. See you next time.
Bye.